Many of you have contacted me about what core region you are. And the best way is to go to a right balance fitter and get measured. But if you look at your video, you can have a clue. I'm an upper core player. 75% of the students that I have measured are upper core. I've measured over 270 students now. So what does an upper core player do? Well, they're going to have the least amount of lateral motion on the backswing with the most rotation in the trail hip, in my right hip here. And then when we come into the ball, we're going to stand up and have the earliest release. That means where is that club going to be pointing at the center of my chest, and both arms are straight. So there is my release point. So you can see where that is, and you can see it's not very far past impact. If we look at me from down the line, you're going to see how that right hip starts with the backswing, and you're going to see that at impact I'm standing up and not very rotated at impact. So this standing up and the shaft pointing up towards the upper core, those are all upper core characteristics. If you're low core, like my friend Kathleen here, you're going to see that the low core is going to have the most lateral in the backswing, the least amount of hip turn in her right hip, and then when she comes into the ball, she's going to have the latest release. There she is at impact, and notice at impact, the low core player is going to be the most rotated. So she's a lot more rotated than I am. And then if we look at her release point as she goes through, we're going to see her right arm isn't straightening till probably there. Dustin Johnson's even later where that release point happens. So she is much further forward than I am in this release point. So low core players are going to release in this area, mid core will release in this area, and then the upper core player probably not even that much. Upper core is probably going to be right in this area here. You know, we're going to release the earliest. So these are some things you can look at to give you some clues. Mid-core players are kind of the hybrid of the upper and low core players. Here's my sister Lori Rinker. She is mid-core, and what you are going to see is the vanilla swing, the swings we love. Everybody told us she had the best swing in our family. What are we going to see? We're going to see the lower body rotated about 45 degrees at impact. That is pretty much average on the PGA Tour. You're going to see she pivots. She has a pivot and gets to her right foot a little bit. And then as she moves in and you look at her at impact, her release point is going to be in between mine and Kathleen's. She's probably released the club about right there. So she's in somewhere in this area, right in here, is where she has released the club. Here is Robert, a young man that I worked with just a couple of days ago. And if you look at his swing, what are we going to see? Well, if we look at him from down the line, we're going to see he's got the club pretty much on plane coming into the ball. But notice how he stands up and pushes up. So there he is at impact. If we look at him face on, we're going to see him, and it looks like, from face on, looks like he has his hips pretty rotated here. So if we look at the rotation in his hips, we might say, from the face on, we might say, hey, that's kind of mid-core. But look at the release point. He's releasing right at the ball. That's right where he released it. I've got upper core players that release before impact. So he's got an early release. Notice that he's standing up as he comes through impact. Standing up. And really, when we look at it from down the line, it doesn't look like his hips are that rotated. The fooler is how much he's off his right foot. We don't see upper core players too much with the right foot up that much. We see it more flat on the ground like a Kenny Perry. So what's this young man really need to work on in his golf swing? Some teachers could say he needs to have his hands further forward. He needs to get his left hand here, get his right arm here, and get more forward shaft lean at impact. Some people could do that. I wouldn't suggest that because he's upper core. Look at where his shaft is pointing at impact. It's pointing at his upper core. I measured him. He's a 7. He's upper core. 7, 8, 9, sternum to the roof of your mouth, upper core. Sternum to your belly button, mid-core. And sternum to your pelvic floor, low core. So as we look at the core regions, 1, 2, 3 is low core, 4, 5, 6 is mid. Lori, who you were looking at, is a 6. Kathleen, who you looked at, the low core is a 1. I'm a 9. I'm the top of the upper core. And Robert here is a 7. So he's in the upper core range. So if you understand the characteristics of the core regions, you can have an idea of what are the characteristics of your swing that fit your swing. So I would not recommend Robert to try and get his handle more forward. I actually would like to see him not quite as rotated with his lower body. And the big thing with Robert and what we talked about with him is he's got the wrong grip. His grip is too strong for a low core player. And he didn't have large enough grips. Larger grips will make you release a little later. So if we get larger grips, he's going to have the handle a little more forward. That'll take care of that. And we need to get his grip better. And there's been a lot of students where that's been the lesson. Get a larger grip and weaken your grip, and that helps them to stop hooking the ball. If you would like to get fit and figure out what you are and what your core region is, visit LarryRinker.com. Love to have you come in and see me, and we'll figure out what the characteristics are of your swing so you can play better golf in 2018. Thanks.